We are live at the Genzio Media House here at ETH Denver, and I'm here with Greg, founder of Beelines. Okay, so before we get into Beelines, tell me a little bit about your background. I know you're a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. I've been a lifetime entrepreneur, but, way back in the Wayback Machine, I just turned 50 actually last month. I was an engineer, designer first actually, then engineer, bootstrapped about a dozen companies in New York before moving to Silicon Valley. Since I've been was in the Bay first for a while, got involved in a number of venture-backed startups. Very early, a company called Clout. We were the first people to map and measure online influence.
Wow.
Ran product there. Then did Y Combinator for my previous company, Shoot, which was a user-generated content platform, basically helping brands secure rights to user-generated content. Worked with all the Fortune 500. Moved to Denver, then we started a company called Zealous, which is an AI platform for repurposing content, especially Twitter Spaces. And then most recently, now I'm here at Beelines.
Wow, what a rich background. And what were some of the most pivotal, experiences that led you to start Beelines?
Yeah, I think I've been kind of in the B2B side. It's a little, as a founder, I think it's like an easier place to be in a lot of ways. Consumer things are really difficult. But I've kind of been a creator myself, for a while. I did my first podcast in 2003.
Okay.
I was actually in the room when Dave Weiner announced that the enclosure tag would be in the RSS feed, which is what makes podcasts possible.
Okay.
I've written. I used to run a podcast called Beer Casting. It was like a talk show I ran in bars.
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's great.
I did
When was
300
that?
episodes in 4 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
300 episodes?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
So we ran it like we would set up tables in the bar with mics and everything. And basically I put these topic cards on the tables and people could sit down and sort of talk. And so recorded like 300 conversations basically.
Were you the one interviewing every single one of them? Or is it
I would jump around.
Okay.
So I would say the interesting skill I learned there was really how to host a conversation because you had to come up with topics that random strangers would be interested in. And then in this time, I started doing, I did a tour. It was funny, founders have to be resourceful. JetBlue used to have this pass called All You Can Jet.
Okay.
So I got the pass, you paid like $500 and you could fly everywhere you wanted. So
$500 a year?
it was like for 3 months.
Wow. Okay.
So I did an 11 city tour for beer casting.
Okay.
And then at home in New York, I had a setup that ran every Tuesday also. And then in Vancouver, another friend was running the show. So we had 3 cities every week for 12 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
That is sick. I mean,
But I guess relative to the pivotal moments, I think it's if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to find the things that you love. You got to find something that keeps your mind entertained for a very long time. Just like being a creator, it's really not that different. I think burnout is the same kind of mentality of things. It's kind of keeping the fuel tank fueled, right?
absolutely.
I've been a creator in a lot of ways, and so that got me into, now I've done 2 or 3 martech companies, but I've always worked kind of on the brand side. And so, for example, when we got to Zealous, I was I want to figure out how the creators can be, how to help them more. And so that was why we made Zealous, because also I'm a really crappy marketer, but I love making content. And I never would repurpose any of it. You sort of record it, leave it on a hard drive, and something that never happened to it.
Gotcha.
And so that's why we made Zealous. We want a fast, efficient way for creators to be able to get more leverage out of their content, more formats, more places, and of course, that becomes the part of you then turning that passion into a business, right?
Gotcha. Wow. So what makes you a shitty marketer? Because it doesn't sound to me like you are.
It's the mechanics of marketing that make me a shitty marketer, I think, right?
Okay.
I do have getting in all the nitty gritty and the details and figuring out how to write things. I don't actually mind doing any of the specific tasks.
Okay.
But finding the time to do them when you're also running a business or still writing code or pitching customers and all the other things,
Right.
really, really just complicated, right? And again, it's where's your passion? Is that what you're actually passionate about? Reformatting videos to fit in shorts? No, I hate it, right?
Right.
So that was why I think, it's more the functional part of it that is kind of the grind.
Gotcha. So tell us about Beelines. What is it? And what are you guys doing right now?
Absolutely. So Beelines is a brand new company. We launched actually on Wednesday at ETH Denver at a hackathon. we basically built an AI focus group platform.
Okay.
So what does that mean, right? Well, AI has sort of risen to the place where, I think like most organizations, they make a lot of decisions without the actual insights of their customers, right? There's like some stat, it's like 20 or 30% of like even Fortune 500 companies will just make a major investment like on a whim. And what we sort of saw was that there isn't enough data, and certainly there's not enough quickness to get to the data. And so a lot of decisions that need to be made, you sort of make them like with your gut, right?
Right.
Or, depending on the types of resources you might have, you might do a survey, you might do a poll, all the way up to like a full study, right? Like where you might get like someone like a Nielsen involved. But then you're waiting 6 or 8 weeks. Everyone's real time now, man. Like waiting 8 weeks to figure out, like just to hear the first part of it, no one wants to do that anymore. And so there are a lot more decisions being made in real time. And as a result of that, we wanted a way to service that. And AI actually provides a really great like platform to start to simulate what your actual customers might think. So Beelines is actually like a synthetic human platform. Couple of points about it though, I guess, is what we do is we create digital twins of real people.
Okay, so before we get into the digital twins, we were speaking a little bit about how some of the biggest incubators and accelerators always talk about speaking to
talk to your customers. That's
talking
right.
to your users. So, what role exactly does this play in kind of figuring out what people might actually want?
Yeah, great question. So I think like early on if you're a startup, you actually don't know who your customer is, right? Mm-hmm. So you should talk to as many real people as possible. We don't think you should not talk to real people. We highly encourage that, right? It's actually the way Beelines is designed is that there's real humans behind, so you can bubble up to the real human, right? But I think like what happens is you can get a lot of feedback. AI understands quite a bit about different personas and mindsets, and you can ask it to challenge you. And so I think like that's kind of what we're tapping into, which is that the thing we're mostly fighting in AI space is the slop, right?
The slop.
Have you heard that term?
Not yet.
All right, so AI slop is like the way that they talk about spam in the AI world.
Okay.
And you kind of know it because like when you're like AI wrote this, right?
Like
that's
noise.
That's right. It's like what we think about is like that. Everything kind of is averaging out to what everyone would say, as opposed to actually saying what like a real person would say, right? And so we think that slop is a problem because if you're going to make business decisions, you're selling to real people. You're not selling to an AI. You're not selling to the average of all people, right? But there isn't enough data and nuance to sort of get to where you can have those kind of discrete conversations. So I think AI provides a way, especially the way we do it, where it's modeled after real people, real content, real engagements, et cetera, where you can sort of like in a safe way have the early conversations to get directionality about where you want to go. Then you should go talk to real people.
Gotcha. So let's go like step by step.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a prospective founder.
Yeah.
Like I want to start. I have an idea. I want to launch it.
Yep.
I'm starting to run the idea by my friends. I'm building a small prototype. I'm trying things out. At what point am I using Beelines?
So great question. So I think you can use it in a number of different places, right? I guess like imagine wherever you use AI today, we can reinforce that use case because we can contextualize it to people who look a lot more like your actual customer.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So for example, like if I was as a founder, well actually we did it the other day. We have the way Beelines, we have these audiences, right? And then, so we made a number of audiences for people to experiment with. We made an audience with a bunch of traditional VCs from Silicon Valley.
Okay.
And so, so we went into it, and it's kind of fun because like I know a lot of those people personally, so I can actually tell like if that's how they would speak or not. But you can make a focus group dynamically, like 2 clicks. You basically pick VCs, pick how big you want the focus group to be, and then you just ask it something. So we actually just gave it Beeline's business model, and we say, give me feedback on this, right?
Oh,
and
so
then
you use
absolutely,
you use Beelines to, that's great.
That's right. So what happens is you see streaming in the response from like Michael Siebel and Mark Andreessen, et cetera, and then you can follow up. And they give you like question. They're like, here's what I'm kind of curious about, et cetera, and then you just push. You can like reply back to it. Yeah.
And so how do you? And I'm assuming you guys just have, you have fed a bunch of data. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for the famous people. The LLMs themselves kind of already have indexed everything. So one of the problems in AI right now is we're sort of reaching the theoretical limit of the available public data, right?
Really?
So so there's something, I think there's something like 17 trillion tokens in the public internet, right?
Okay.
And so the biggest models, I think, are something like in the, I think DeepSeek says that it's in the 15 trillion or 12 trillion space, right? So we're like actually getting close to where we've indexed all of the public data, and basically they can ingest it all as fast as it's being created now.
Okay, so can you just clarify for some people that might not understand, what role are tokens playing in AI? Is it 17
A
trillion?
token is basically a word.
Okay.
Easy way to imagine,
Gotcha.
right? So it's like when AI search, they basically tokenize. So they look for the simulation, or sorry, the relationship of like characters and words to each other and concepts, right?
Gotcha.
And so the token is like kind of searching for that similarity. And so like usually when you talk to an AI, you write English, but it actually gets converted into a number.
Right.
And then it's called a vector search, and basically they look for similarity based on a coordinate, basically, like for that number. It's like a mathematical coordinates,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay.
But stepping back, if you just think like OpenAI spent 10 years indexing all of the internet, right? And so now all of that public data is already out. So there's only two other stores of data left, really. The next one is like private data, which organizations have. And guess what? Google's never going to give you their data. Amazon's not going to give you your data. If you're a business, or what's your proprietary advantage anymore? It's the data that you have. And then the third layer, which is what we believe is one of the most powerful ones, is what we call the human intelligence layer, which is all of the nuance that makes us unique as opposed to being an AI, right? And so that's everything from your personality to your knowledge to your skill set, right? That's what we model in Beelines. And so we provide that as a layer that you can use on top of traditional AI.
Gotcha. Okay, so I think this is a perfect place to segue into the actual digital twins.
Yeah.
It seems like you're creating a digital
That's
twin
right.
of yourself. So I have a bunch of questions already that I'm already thinking about, but I guess guide us through that. What does that twin look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So it starts somewhat generic. So the way, for example, when we started, what we did is we actually indexed all of Farcaster. Okay. So we have 500,000 digital twins that you can go talk to now, right?
Wow.
So we have a Farcaster audience. Okay. We have panels within that audience. Panels are basically people with like sets of attributes. So what we did is we modeled all the channels on Farcaster into panels. So if you want to talk to the fitness channel, you could just like send the prompt in. And then basically we have the focus group. So no one will talk to everybody. Okay. So what you do is you do a sample.
So
right?
I do
so
like, I want to
Yeah.
speak to this like when you say fitness, so like
you can write whatever you want. It's a prompt-based thing. Okay. So you're just like, hey, I'm looking for people who are into bodybuilding and weightlifting, right? And then you could zero down to like the fitness channel, and then get like 25, 50, 100 random people to talk to.
And it's random people, or is it like actual names that you can could be familiar with?
So
like
very good question.
Or?
Yeah. So in the system, when we create the twins, what we do is we ingest the posts that they have, their followers, and a lot of other data. And basically now we understand a lot about them. But we then, we keep all of that anonymous. So we don't show you who it is.
Gotcha.
Right? Now, part of our system, though, is that, and what makes it unique, is that you could then come and connect your Farcaster account, or your Twitter account, or your YouTube account, and claim your agent. Right? And when you claim that agent, you claim your own digital twin. Okay. Then you get to train it. And so you'll see all the assumptions that we've made about you, and you can be like, no, that's not me.
Interesting.
Or you can add other things. You can give it additional documents. You can connect other accounts, right? And you might be wondering, well, why would I do that? Well, because we're going to pay you, right? And so this is another problem in the AI space. It's a highly extractive industry, right? They took all of that public data, all of our data, and they just use it for free.
Yep.
And we don't make a penny off of it. And so we want to reset that paradigm. If you want my human intelligence, right, my own like person, then you're going to pay. And the way our system works, this is where crypto is part of the system,
right.
Is that every agent has a wallet, and every time your model gets called, you get paid a little something.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I mean, in my head, I was like stacking questions, and it's like, now they're here. What's the best next question to ask?
Oh, and that's you asked about the public thing.
Yeah.
So when you make your digital twin, after you claim your account, you can then choose to publicize some or all of that information. It's up to you. Now, we don't recommend you publicize all of it because keeping that data proprietary is part of your value prop.
Gotcha.
So we're launching a service in a couple of months. It's called BNS. We're forking ENS.
Okay.
And what it actually does is it's a registry for any agent to basically say, hey, I'm available to join like a focus group or to be consulted.
Wow.
And then you would choose which attributes or traits about yourself you want to publish so they can be indexed.
This is a game changer. I mean, this sounds like a game changer because there's companies that offer consulting services and you can kind of find experts and companies can go out and seek their advice and they're paying
That's right.
a lot of money, and then you guys come in and you already have expert agents that can just provide that info for you.
That's right. Yeah. So like things like GLG and other services like that where you have like high end business advisors and consultants, if they just share enough of their knowledge with the system,
right,
that twin gets to learn a lot about them. I'll tell you a funny, interesting thing actually. One of the biggest challenges we have is making the AI dumber.
Whoa.
Right? Because LLMs, they know everything.
Wow.
And one of our biggest challenges, we're working through it now, but it's actually contextualizing the knowledge to you so that you don't answer with things that you wouldn't know. Right?
Right.
So I'll give you a simple example.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Let's pretend you're like, you're a political junkie, but you watch Fox News and another guy watches MSNBC. If I ask you a thing, the underlying LLM can always answer,
right.
But you shouldn't answer.
You're right, because that's
right.
fake.
That's right. That's not authentic to you.
Right.
That's
wow.
right.
That is fascinating. What are some of the other things that these agents can do?
It's a great question. So we're developing an open ecosystem, right? And the actual abilities of the agents come from developers. So they can do almost anything. Obviously we're going to build our own tools like as part of the process. But the goal is to actually allow developers and enterprises to build tools for themselves, right? So how does it work? Well, our tools are just software, right? And much like if you've ever used ChatGPT or any other tools, when you write in the box, that's using like a completion tool or an inference tool.
Right.
If you put a picture in, though, it's using a different tool to analyze the image, and then it hands it off to the completion tool, right? Okay. So those tool calls are like very natural to the way AI world works, and we're basically emulating that same ecosystem, but we give your agent a toolkit also. So we have a tool marketplace that we're building. Any developer can contribute a tool, and the way it works is that you, as the owner of that agent, we call them bees, right? You can install tools in your tool belt, and so what happens when you install the tool is tools leverage skills. So it's just like a human, right? Like we have developmental skills, right? So you have like reading and writing, etc., right? Like listening, speaking, right? So for example, someone could make a tool like where it's like, great, I'd like you to say something in your own voice, right? And so what happens is the tool developer develops a tool, maybe it's 11 Labs or any other developer building on top of 11 Labs that comes up with a way to tweak it and tune it for very specific use cases. That tool can be installed by the agent owner. You give them access, like an OAuth style access to your skills. So this tool doesn't have my writing skill, but it's allowed to use my voice.
Okay.
Right? And so now that tool can only generate voice, but it can't write. It doesn't know how you would write things. You probably wouldn't do it that way, but you get my idea, right? There's a variety of skills that your agent has. It has knowledge and skills and memory. We have all those modeled and through the API. And then the tool developer requests access to them.
Okay.
Right? And then what happens is that when you, like the startup founder, consumer insights team, social media marketer, et cetera, what you're really doing is you're saying, I want to use that tool with these 50 agents or 100 agents. And so the tool developer gets paid, the agent gets paid, and then the protocol takes a small fee also.
Wow. The agent gets paid, and then just to clarify, the agent gets paid, that's your agent, so technically you get paid? Or am I misunderstanding?
Whoever owns the agent, right? So technically you could, organizations could develop their own audiences and then make them available.
Wow.
Right? So that's what BNS is for.
Wow.
The code base for the actual underlying platform will be open source. So if you don't trust us to run your agent, you can just download the software and run it on your own box, right? Or if you're an existing enterprise, say you're a programmatic ad platform, you got a ton of data about people, you can just model up all your own agents, put them on BNS, and then allow any developer to be able to start tapping into that revenue stream. So it's a completely accretive revenue stream for like tons of industries that actually have tons of data.
Yeah.
Stays anonymous, but you get to monetize all the individual interactions.
That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. You guys are providing, the infrastructure for so many businesses.
Very open, right? Yeah. But and a lot more parties to join the system, so we're not the only one, right?
Right.
But we're talking to like large organizations like credit card companies, traditional polling companies, ad companies, right? They've all got like these data sets, and they're just sitting there, right? Like they maybe you're using it to do an ad optimization, but what about all the other use cases, or what even about the workflow that leads to developing that ad, right? So, for example, next month we're launching our Twitter tool goes live. And you'll be able to pay for it like ChatGPT, right? $5-10 a month, whatever you want.
Right.
But the way it works is when you sign up, you just say, hey, who are your competitors? You give us their Twitter handles. We create lookalike audiences automatically for every one of those accounts. And then when you write a tweet, it'll just show you how that tweet will perform with all those people.
Wow. Okay, so that's the Twitter product. Okay.
We've got research products. We've got a number of different tools that we're building our own toolkit. But then other devs might come up with cool use cases, and we can offer those as well.
Gotcha. Fascinating. Okay, and so where does decentralization come into this?
Yeah, great question. So BNS is a decentralized ecosystem unto itself. And that allows us to then bring in things like Eliza OS, virtuals, any agentic platforms being developed. You build up a sufficiently good or interesting agent, you can put it on the platform.
Wow.
And now that agent can get enlisted in all kinds of tasks. So it's a discovery mechanism.
Wow.
The tool contract, so the ENS listing, the BNS listing that we do, is the contract. So the unit economics are actually inside of that. So if somebody wants to work with your agent, great, the fee structure is there. Somebody want to work with your tool, the fee structure is there, right? And all this can happen permissionlessly, and we can dynamically assemble and orchestrate new teams that never existed before, all because it's all decentralized.
Wow. It's fascinating. And just ownership of the data. You mentioned that we own the data, the user owns the data.
Yep.
And they can choose how much of it they want to share, how much they don't want to share.
That's right.
How is that different from what else is happening?
So I think there's a couple parts to it, right? We for example, when we're building it, like as a personal responsibility in the org, we already keep track of whose data we use, so they get paid.
Okay.
So we issue in a wallet to every agent that we create.
Okay.
Right. So you're already getting paid, right? You would sign in and there'd be money there for you, right?
Yeah.
So we only index public data, right? But the ideal, I think, over time is that the best trained bees will get the most opportunities. So if you do come in and teach it a little bit more about yourself, it'll earn more, right? But otherwise, you could use it privately. So we're going to have a consumer app, and it becomes like you as your own assistant, right? So you can just ask it, like, instead of going to ChatGPT and say, like, write me an email for whatever, we already know you. So you just ask yourself to write the email.
Wow. That is great.
Yeah.
So how do people get involved with it right now? What can people expect?
Yeah, absolutely. So Beelines went live on Wednesday, 2 days ago from today, whenever you may be watching this. But the API, the SDK, the developer platform, and the consumer app are all live already.
Wow.
Just go to beelines.ai.
And so what would you like? I want to create my own twin.
Yeah.
I want to start using it, and I want to start generating some revenue.
Yeah.
How do I do that?
So as an end user, you can simply just go to beelines.ai. There's a consumer portal. You'd sign up, you connect a few accounts, and we'll start indexing you.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're a dev, you can go to platform.beelines.ai, and you can start using the developer platform. We offer like a no-code experience. So if you're a new developer, AI dev, vibe coder, whatever you call yourselves these days, you can do it all on the front end, but we show you the code that's being created. So you can actually just copy paste it, drop it into Cursor or whatever you're using.
And you can start learning code
as well. You can learn how to code with us as well.
Wow.
Or you could just download the SDK. We have an NPM package. You install it, and you're good to go. You can just start running it.
Sick. And how much are the initial users at this moment generating in revenue?
We haven't started doing that yet. So actually today, if you were to use it, you'll earn our internal token called Pollen.
Okay.
So it's like your XP.
Okay.
And so that Pollen count, you could probably imagine, we'll have some use cases.
Okay. Absolutely. And so the it's kind of, the token's out already?
No.
Not yet?
No.
Okay. So, but you can start stacking and getting them and then eventually redeem them.
Yeah, and then that XP count will become a factor in placing you into groups as well, right? So agents that don't have a very low pollen score, they haven't been trained a lot, they don't have a lot of experience yet.
Okay.
They get praised less than
Right.
like the ones that have more.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So I guess this is your chance to get in early.
Very good time to get it.
Train those bees.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, Gregarious, Greg,
Yeah.
I think this was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Brought to you by Hedera and Foresight Ventures.
Hey, what's up?
But it's not something Genzio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a hive.
You know we do not understand that we do not want. Ladies and gentlemen,
We're back at the Genzio Media House.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today.